afternoon, everyone. My name is Paul, and I am a nerd. And you are here for our what month is this, Mary Jo? They just keep flying by. I can't believe it's September. I can't believe we're already looking at what we're doing in Thanksgiving and Christmas and all that stuff. But where was I? You're here for our September 2017 Tabs3 virtual user group meeting, where today we are talking about bank accounts in trust. Mary Jo's going to cover that topic. And I'm going to talk about using custom fields to represent your eBill data that sometimes people are putting in different places. So we're going to talk about what we think the best practice is for storing that information. And so, without further ado, I am going to press all of the magic buttons. It's a series of magic buttons that I have to press to get to the point where Mary Jo can start talking about bank accounts and trust accounting.
Yay! It's a fun topic, right?
It's exciting.
So, but it does happen. I have several firms that have several trust accounts that they're managing, not just one. Now, most of us have one, but there are several that you do have multiples. And you need to know where to go and how to set those up. If you need to add one, let's say you open a new one and you're switching banks, all these different things can happen. So when we're in the trust module and we go under the setup tab, there is a bank account icon. And this is where we're going to go in to manage bank accounts. If I do the drop down next to the bank account, I can see in here that I have 3 IOLTA accounts set up in here. If I highlight one and just bring it up, this is going to give me that information. I have the account number, and these are fictional. And we have descriptions, and then I have the last check number used. Now, the first thing that I get a lot of times is, how do I set that check number? It keeps defaulting to something weird, or I never got to set it at the beginning, or whatever that was. You can change that last check number used right here. So if something got off track, somebody misentered a check number by too many digits or something, and it keeps wanting to default to some high number, you can always come back in here and reset that number to be your next or your last check number that is used, so that then when you go in to enter a check, it will go ahead and give you that next check number. Now, we can also password protect the reconciliation reports. A lot of people don't know that we can do that. It is an option that you can check the box, and that way you have to have the password to be able to view those reports. And we also have a box that we can allow a negative trust balance, and that's very rarely used. We don't usually want to write a check before we actually have their money in the account. We usually want them to deposit the money, and then we're going to pull that money out. But there is a box there that you can allow negative trust balances, and then they can replenish it. So you're actually fronting them. But remember, in the IOLTA account, we have to be dollar for dollar that these are the client's funds. So we don't want to borrow somebody else's, rob Peter to pay Paul kind of mentality here. We want to make sure that we're being very careful about what we're doing here. If you carry a little extra in your trust balances for such occasions, then that's a good time that you could use that allow negative balances. But just make sure you check your local, state laws and regulations for that. We don't want to recommend that. It's something you're going to do only on rare occasions. We do have some integration settings here. When we click on the integration settings, we have language that you can use. Now, this is by individual bank account. So sometimes like this starts off being, this has your retainer balances. I think it defaults to being something like your trust account number 1 balances. Well, a client doesn't know what trust account number 1 balance is. So you can change that language. And this is what prints on their statement in tabs at the bottom to give them that description of what the balances are. Now, if you're using the detail view, that's where you're going to see all of the activity, their initial amount in there, then all of the checks that have come out, any deposits that have went in, and what their final balance is. If you're just saying that their current balance is whatever, X amount of dollars, but that's what that header is going to be. Same thing with the opening balance and closing balance. This is going to be what you opened it up with this amount and you closed with this amount. These all can be changed. You can say beginning balance, ending balance, something that's simple, whatever your firm prefers. We do have a bill remittance, and a target remittance. So if you are actually requiring that they replenish their trust money, and you're showing that on the statement, the amount to replenish their trust money to equal whatever you had targeted that they want, this is the language that they would see on the statement as well. The next section is the payments that are coming out and going to integrate. So if you're doing the trust payments directly from trust into Tabs, you can use this section to define what payment code you're going to use. And again, this is by bank account. So if trust account 1 is using a certain payment code and trust account 2 is using a code and trust account 3 is using a code, you can use a different regular payment code. Now these T codes do need to be set up in Tabs. So you do have to have a 900, a 901, a 902, whatever it is that you want to use already set up. And then we're just tagging that here. We're linking it and saying, okay, for trust account number 1, we're using a 900 payment code that's going to go post over into Tabs. We do have the ability to split out fee, expense, and advance payment codes as well, but these have pretty much gone away. We don't usually do these so much anymore. Everything is a regular payment, and we let Tabs go ahead and split it out according to what's been billed. We also have our automatic trust payment section down here. Are we going to allow automatic trust postings by an EFT or by a check? So this is where that setting comes on. Now we've had other webinars and things that we've talked about. I'm going to dismiss that ball for now. Oops, I didn't mean to dismiss it. I guess you'll have to go find it later. You should have shut that off. Anyway, this automatic trust, we've had several webinars on this and how to set up automatic trust payments. This is one section of that. There are 3 areas we need to do to set up automatic trust payments. This is one of them. And so that's where that's found underneath this integration settings section. And whether or not you're going to go ahead and allow those, Tabs has a balance, we're going to go automatically pull from trust and pay. That's what that's for. So we're going to get out of this one. We also have accrual posting. I have very, very few firms that I have out there using accrual method of accounting. Most everybody is cash, but they do also have a section in here that you can post for accrual accounting purposes. So that's where we can view and change and modify and also add. So if we wanted to add a brand new trust account here, we can go ahead and click on our little new button. It already knows that number 4 is my next account. Go ahead and fill out all the information regarding this account, and then we can set up our integration settings just like we reviewed for this bank account. That will then be ready to go ahead and integrate with Tabs, and you should be all set. So if you have to ever make any changes or anything like that, again, it's just coming in over here to do that. Paul?
Well, that was simple. I think probably the biggest reason people come in here is to change that check number. Because we help people set things up, we get it all set, and then somehow they get that check number off, and they got to get it. And it's kind of weird. You go into the bank account information to change that. You can't change it as you're doing. Well, you can, but then you can, but
you're manually changing it every time. If I've seen that, just a miskeyed thing. Somebody puts 1199 instead of 199 or something like that, and then they end up with this big check number, and they don't. It keeps wanting to do that next check number.
Exactly.
Yeah, that is a big reason there. So
I'm going to talk about the fields of information that you need to provide for the various uploading sites when you're doing e-billing. If you are submitting bills, most commonly to insurance companies, but some corporations require it to be done this way. There are certain clients that require that you electronically submit your bills using a platform and a protocol like Leads 1998B or that's what I'm talking about. And when you are setting up the e-billing, you tell it where to get the information on a matter-by-matter basis. Sometimes they want to know the client ID, they want to know your taxpayer ID, they want to know who the primary timekeeper is. There are a lot of things that they could want to know. And what we see is that there are lots of places you can put this stuff. For instance, you could put it in custom fields, miscellaneous 1, 2, and 3. Or you could use, tell me if I'm saying the wrong thing, is it client notes? Yeah, Mary Jo's helping me here. And then statement options has statement notes, and you can put it on different lines. You could put one thing on line 2 and another thing on line 7. The problem is that's really confusing because depending on how many different platforms you upload to and how many different sets of parameters you have, it gets more and more confusing about how to do that. So something that a lot of people don't really understand is that not only are miscellaneous 1, 2, and 3 found on this custom fields tab, but there's this mysterious box down here with a field number and a label and text. And what these are is a custom field. I could put in number 1, for instance, and I could say this is the firm ID or something. Okay, we're going to just shut that down. Firm ID. And the text is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, and when I save this, what did I do wrong? I put a space in. Yeah, no spaces allowed in the or the whatever you're supposed to call it. So I have set up field 1 to always be firm ID. And for this particular matter, it has this value, okay? So I can say that for my leads 1998B stuff, I'm going to always have this value in field 1 and this value in field 2 and this value in field 3. And then I can always put those in those fields there. They don't mess with my miscellaneous 1, 2, and 3. They don't mess with my statement notes. They don't mess with anything else that might appear elsewhere on the bill. See, the problem with using miscellaneous 1, 2, and 3 or statement notes or client notes or whatever is that those things can also be set to appear on bills. So it can get real confusing. You print a bill, it's got this stuff here, and it's also going someplace else. And so you can get into a situation where you're printing information you don't want to on the bill, and you can also get into a situation where you're not getting the right stuff into the e-file. This methodology allows you to map out a strategy for each of the different platforms that you upload to and which fields you need for each of those platforms and where they go, which custom field. But then beyond that, let's go ahead and take this, edit this value, and take this value out. And let's add a new field, and let's say it's field 2, and it's going to be client ID or something that's unique to this platform. And let's say those are the 2 things that I need for my leads 1998B. Now stick with me here. And let's create a client. Let's pretend the client 1 is where I store all my templates for my, or tables we call them, for my different platforms that I upload to. And so in 1.00, I'm going to store the lead stuff. And in 1.01, I'm going to store the Timetrics stuff. And in 1.02, I'm going to store something else, some other platforms fields. And so I've got these unique, fully defined, predefined tables for each of the platforms I'm uploading to. When we create the matter, we would put what platform it is in the work description, so that shows up when we're looking at the matters. And then when we go to other matters, I'm going to go ahead and save this table, and I'm going to get to a different matter, any different matter. It doesn't really matter. No pun. Mary Jo's laughing. So let's say I want to set up 102.00 using the custom fields from 1.00. All I have to do is say I want to use an existing table from 1.00, and it'll only pull up the matters that have these predefined. And then I just go and edit my values for this matter. You see what's happening here? I've set up a template, if you will, a predefined table that tells me exactly what I need to do for a Leads 1998B file that's being filed using the standard subformat, okay? And I give my work descriptions names. I didn't here, but I would give it a work description. The client name for client 1 might be eBilling tables, and the work description for 1.00 might be something like Leads 1998B-Timetrics. So when I'm setting up a new matter as Leads 1998B Timetrics, we'll pretend that says all those things, and I say, oh, yeah, this is the one I want, and it automatically tells me what to fill in, automatically tells me where to fill it in. I don't have to have remembered that miscellaneous 1 is supposed to have this, and line 14 of client notes is supposed to have that, and line 2 of beginning statement notes is supposed to have that. These things are already predefined for me. I just go through and fill in the values. So that's it. the first part is use the custom field tables all the time, whether you're going to set up the templates or not. Always use these because they're so much easier to work with. They don't get in the way of anything else. They're not confusing because they're not going to appear on the bill like miscellaneous 1, 2, and 3 might. And they're just a good place to put these things and have clear-cut labels or definitions of what's supposed to go where. When you're using miscellaneous 1, 2, and 3, you have to remember what goes in 1, what goes in 2, what goes in 3. When you're using a field table, you give these things labels so you have a visual representation of exactly what goes where. But then the real icing on the cake to me is if you're doing a lot of this and you've got 4 or 5 different platforms that you upload to, maybe a couple with several different subformats, creating this one matter, this one client, I should say, client number 1 in my example, to hold all the tables, and then different matters to hold tables for different uploading platforms. I think that's the icing on the cake, because then when you go to open a new matter and you simply come into custom field tables and say use existing, and it's only going to show you the other matters that have field tables defined, and obviously you're going to give it a client ID that puts it right on top for these templates. It just gives you the ability to very quickly set up a new matter, pull in the fields, fill them in, and be done without having to worry about anything else. And that's that. So, 2 exciting topics, one fast-moving half hour. So next month, we're going to talk about payment adjustments, what to do when you've made a payment and it's wrong. If you've ever talked to me about these, you'll know that Mary Jo is going to be the one who presents this topic at next month's virtual user group meeting, because she is the expert on payment adjustments, not me. I'm going to talk about some things that might make looking up a client in Tabs a little bit easier if you just knew how to manipulate that screen that comes up. So I'm going to talk about the client lookup window and some things that you may or may not already know to make it much easier to get exactly to the client that you're looking for. And before we go, let's go take a look at attorneycomputersystems.com. Now remember, it's Attorney Computer Systems with an emphasis on that last S in the word systems, because without that S, you're not going to get to the right place. And this is our people page. If you ever wonder what I look like, or Mary Jo, or Leanne, or where's Patty? Patty's in here too. Patty's flailing around telling me, no, yes, everybody's picture's there. If you ever need to know how to contact us, all of our direct dial phone numbers and all of our email addresses are there. I'm sorry you can't block the email addresses, but we've made them images so that people won't spam us at least as much as they would if those weren't images. But if you click on this word videos up here, or just hover over it, if you click on it, you get to this page we're about to load. If you hover over it, you get to this menu that also comes up. But this shows you all the video content that we have. Now, we have 6 different video series. 4 of them are live events, and 3 of those live events are these very virtual user group meetings that we're performing today. We have our Tabs3 virtual user group meeting, our Practice Master virtual user group meeting, and our World Docs virtual user group meeting, as well as our Coffee Pot webinars. Those are also a monthly event where I present ancillary add-on products that enhance the value of Practice Master or Tabs or World Docs. Now, we also have our pre-recorded video series. Today, we recorded some Paul and Mary Jo shows, and we also have the eBites video series that Mary Jo does. The eBites video series is short, little 2, 3, 4-minute videos with really cool, very succinct, very easy to explain stuff that you may not know about. And our Paul and Mary Jo show is a longer format show, which allows either I or Mary Jo to take up a longer time, 10, 15, sometimes 20 minutes, explaining all of the intricacies of a deeper topic, a broader topic. Now, if you click on, for instance, our virtual user group meetings, like the one we're in right now, you will find that we have information on the next event. Well, first we have a description of what the Tabs3 virtual user group meeting is. Then we have information on our next meeting, which is October 30th, and links. 2 of them, although they both take you to the same place to register. Some people just like to see what they're clicking on, others don't. Title and a description of exactly what we're going to be talking about. And then as we scroll down, we'll find the pre-recorded versions. This is the one you're in right now, so it's currently in post-production, but here's the one from last month. So as we scroll down, we find recorded versions of all of our virtual user group meetings. or all of our webinars, or all of our e-bites, or all of our Paul and Mary Jo shows. Now, I keep promising to do this, but someday we're going to count because we're pretty sure that we have passed the 1,000 video mark. But we can't say that with any level of guarantee because we haven't counted yet. So someday we'll count and we'll be able to say over 1,000 videos. Let's just say there's a lot of stuff here. So if you want to find something out, or you're just in that general, what can I learn today mode, this is a good place to go. So please take advantage of this. It's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and 365 days a year, ready for you anytime. Everybody have a good rest of the day, rest of the month, and we will see you in October. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.